Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
What's going on, everybody? John, the producer, getting this kicked off because, here he is. Jim left us right as we started the Open, but it looks like he's back with us. So I'm going to hand things back over to Jim Coyle as we get this Friday underway. Jim, you there?
Oh, yeah. Jim's here. Jim's upset. Jim's pissed off. Jim's going to cut it. It's one of those, it's been one of those mornings, Dustin, or Dylan. Dylan's with us today. Dylan Sinn, how are you? From Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Thank you, sir. Yep, I had my backpack, which in the sports media world is not just a backpack, is your life. Came up missing yesterday, and so I am scurrying about. We're replacing a laptop and all that goes with it and trying to do the show, cover the game. And then my battery was dead this morning. So starting off with a bunch of rocks in my boots, walking around with it's like getting up in the day and just pouring some rocks in your shoes and walking around all day. Other than that, it's great. How's Dylan doing?
Apparently significantly better than you, Jim. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's up. Well, I was hoping that we were going to be doing this together on site, but that kind of got blown up. But speaking of on site, a lot of excitement for Indiana fans as, of course, they knock off Michigan yesterday in exciting fashion. And you talk about a tale of two halves. I don't know that I have seen a game this year, certainly from Indiana, even in any game that they won, where they came out, not only played, but almost dominated a half and did it till the end. Did the things that they needed to do to win the game. Hunter Dickinson, 13 first half points. 2 in the second half. Jordan Geronimo drew the assignment. Mike Woodson made a call there. Probably the smartest thing he's done all season. And you talk about just shutting a team down. I mean, Michigan had been on a roll. They came in that first half looked like things were just going to continue. And then the switch flipped, brother.
Yeah, it was almost immediate. You could kind of see, and Trace said this after the game, that you could see in real time almost Michigan just kind of deflate, just kind of go flat and be like, uh-oh, here we go. And Indiana took advantage of that. Trace said it was kind of the opposite of the first game against Wisconsin for Indiana, where the same thing happened to the Hoosiers, where they kind of felt like we were up by 22 and now it's slipping away from us. And Indiana was on the other side of that this time. And as Mike Woodson said, that had to be so gratifying for a team that has been on the other side of that so many times this year to kind of get one for themselves, to say, look, we are not going to let this happen again. We're actually going to be the one that does it this time. That was really gratifying. And you could tell how much this win meant to Mike Woodson and how much he thought it meant to the program itself. If you saw the video that the Indiana basketball Twitter account posted after the game, he charges into the locker room after the game and yells at the top of his lungs, "How about them Hoosiers?" And he's obviously fired up. You could tell how much he thought this win meant to the program as a whole, which was really fun to see.
Well, I agree with him because, first of all, it's historical. They come back from a 17-point deficit in playoff action, which, to my knowledge, the only other time was back in 2002 against Duke. in Lexington at the Rupp Arena in the NCAA tournament the year that they would go on to the championship game. But they were down by 17 to Duke, who was the defending number 1 ranked and defending national champion. But this is just as big, if not, I don't want to say bigger because of what that meant, but this means a lot to this program in this moment. In this moment in time, this win means way more to the program than even that one did back then over Duke. I truly believe, because of where they are right now and where they're trying to get to, and the players that are on the team now and that will be here next year. This is huge for that. It's huge. It's huge for those that are coming here, I think. It's big in a lot of ways. Now, emotionally, that was an emotionally draining win, I'm going to assume, because of when you accomplish something like that, it's just, not only is it physically draining, it's emotionally draining. But now they have to come back and play again today. So that's like playing after winning against Purdue. But not only do they have to come back and play today, but the assignment gets even tougher today, as Indiana has drawn the absolute worst path in this tournament, Dylan. I truly believe, had they been on the other side, they could have seriously made some noise. Unfortunately, they draw Michigan, and now they've got to play Illinois, the toughest. I think the team that's the favorite to win this tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I think Illinois is the favorite to win the tournament, and it was kind of bad luck for IU that Wisconsin choked that game away against Nebraska on the last day of the regular season, because I think Indiana matches up much better against Wisconsin than they do against Illinois. Absolutely. So,
and who expected Wisconsin to let Nebraska beat them? Golly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's some bad luck, especially at home. They lost at the Kohl Center to Nebraska. But yeah, it's some bad luck for Indiana. But I guess that's the breaks. Like they did have, to my eye, it was the toughest matchup they could have possibly had in this tournament, facing Michigan and Illinois back to back, teams that they do not match up well against at all. And so we'll have to see what they have cooked up for Illinois in this game, because you're right. The move to get Hunter Dickinson matched up with Jordan Geronimo was a kind of a stroke of genius, but it didn't come until the second half, right? So you wonder, for most of that game, Hunter Dickinson was dominating for the first part of it, and Kofi Coburn has done the same thing several times against Trace Jackson Davis. So you have to wonder what the plan is today, because I don't know if Jordan Geronimo would have the same success against Kofi as he did against Hunter Dickinson, but maybe you have to give it a shot.
Oh, I think so, because we've seen Jordan Geronimo guard Luka Garza, who is, I'm not going to say he's as big as Kofi in a different way. I mean, he's as far as body mass, he's about the same. But Luka Garza was tougher to guard because he had more weapons. At least you know exactly where. Kofi is going to be. He's going to be 2 feet from the goal, from the rim. He's not going to be anywhere else. Yeah. If Jordan's got the strength, but sometimes the hops, who knows? The difference, instead of trying to guard him with strength, guarding with finesse. That's kind of what was the success yesterday. Jordan, his speed, he was so much faster, and Dickinson just didn't know what to do with that. It flummoxed him. So, you know what? The win like yesterday can put a team on a roll. And with this team playing in that second half like we have not seen them, and they have to come right back, so there's not a lot of time to lose that muscle memory, maybe that stays for the good. And who knows? Maybe they can get on a roll. And, if they get past Illinois, who the hell knows?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If they win this game today, there is the kind of sky is the limit for the rest of this tournament, because you could kind of start to see, if they do win today, on top of that comeback yesterday, you kind of maybe start to see the floodgates open for this team a little bit, because they have been as Mike Woodson said, they've been striking out. I think was the term that he used for so long. And if you finally get one, you start to feel like, okay, you stop having those feelings of here we go again in late game moments. And it's possible those come back today. We won't know. Maybe they're not even close at the end of the game. But it's just something that you get one, and maybe it starts to kind of build on itself. And that's what Indiana's hoping for right now, because they're still not secure in the NCAA tournament right now. They actually had some bad luck yesterday with Virginia Tech beating Notre Dame, Oklahoma beating Baylor. Both of those teams are kind of on the bubble with them as well. So they need another win. It's going to be very, very close. If they lose today, they're going to be right on the edge. If they win today, they're in. So they need one more.
Yeah, that's the question that is on Indiana's minds, fans that is, because Indiana has been on the. I said this yesterday. Indiana has been on the bubble for like 3 weeks,
yep.
and it doesn't matter if they lose, they stayed on the bubble. It's like, man. So they get that big win, and I'm like, well, is that enough? And it does depend on what happened around them. They had been getting some good luck, and then yesterday some things didn't go their way. It's going to right now. If they lost a 1-point game to Illinois, I think it would be unbelievably close whether or not they got in.
Yeah, they are, as of this morning, they are the last team in the field on Joe Lunardi's bracketology on ESPN. Virginia Tech and Oklahoma, both of whom won yesterday, we just talked about, they are both among the first 4 out, but they both have another chance to play again today as well. So that could be how those 3 teams do today could go a long way toward determining whether Indiana is in this tournament.
Well, and if they all 3 lose, but
yes.
say Indiana plays Illinois close,
yes,
that could be enough to get in as well.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is we saw Indiana play this team close the first time they met. It was a close game. Indiana led with about 13 minutes left in the second half, and then they just completely went to sleep, as we've seen sometimes this season where they just aren't able to finish. This time it happened a little bit earlier than in some of the other games. But yes, they were outscored 32-11 in the final 13 minutes of that game against Illinois. And so you have to wonder, okay, do they have the juice against this team? Now, what we heard from, actually, I cover Purdue as well as most people know. I was talking to Matt Painter earlier this week, and he said that actually, in his experience, the team with the double bye, it's advantageous on Saturday and Sunday, but because you're fresh when everyone else is tired. But on Friday, in the first half especially, the other team is coming off a win, and you're coming off 4 or 5 days off, and you can be a little rusty, and the other team has some mojo going, and you can get out and go get beat in that first half. And so that's something that Indiana can go out in this game and maybe have a little bit of swagger to them and say, hey, we're coming off a win. We're playing confidently. Let's go get one.
Absolutely. And it's also telling, though, that if you're playing on Friday, you could be a team that's, well, Indiana was not a team that played on Wednesday, so they only played 1 game before. So, yeah, there's something to that. But you've also will have played 2 back-to-back games, 2 big-time back-to-back games. Who would Indiana play on Saturday?
They would play. I believe it would depend, but I believe they would move on and play either Rutgers or Iowa. Would be the plan there.
Well, and then see, Iowa is a team also that can get hot, and as you saw yesterday, look like a slot machine.
Yes.
Play like how many points they put on the board? 101?
112.
Yeah, they of course, they weren't playing the toughest team in the world, but that's a lot of points, man. And that means you're in a flow. You're comfortable. They're comfortable in that gym, so shooting wise, they're in good shape. They're a dangerous team.
Yeah.
Indiana should have beat them on the road. I was down there for that game in Iowa City. they could have. I should say could have beat them, but that was back when Indiana just didn't know who Indiana was. And unfortunately, they're just now learning who they are, it seems. They're just now coming together as a team. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You get Trey Galloway back. That has to be a little boost. So who knows what this team can get done. It would be fun to see them achieve something for themselves and for the fans. But we'll see today. Today is the all telling, man. But how many times this season, Dylan, have we said this is a must-win game for Indiana?
Yep. I mean, yesterday was the first one where it was actually like, okay, win. If you lose, you're not going to the tournament. If you lose,
that was the one definite. You could not lose your way in.
Yep. And they went out and won, and that was great. I do think we should point out, you talked about Trey Galloway. I think it's important to point out, I wonder how much of a factor he's going to be today, because he played 28 minutes yesterday. He's going to be extremely sore when he wakes up this morning, and they're playing at 11:30. So I wonder whether he is going to be able to be much of a factor today, just because of the quick turnaround in games. It's tough because that he had to come back in the Big Ten tournament with literally no rest, less than 24 hours of rest. But it is going to be tough, I think. If he is able to play and contribute today, give a lot of credit to Indiana's training staff and the physical and mental toughness of Trey Galloway.
Yep. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to this game. Illinois is a team that did not play yesterday, so we'll see about that. We got plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by, of course, our good friends from Endeavor Hospitality. That includes places like Southern Stone, Cabello, BB's Marketplace, Feast, all kinds of good places to get out there. Get out to BB's. It's the former Wagon Wheel. The incredible specialty meats you can get there. I can't wait to start grilling, man. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting.
Oh,
hey, I don't mean to
man.
step on your toes, but you're booked end to end today. I've got to keep you on track today.
No, I know. That's the only way you can, because I can't see shit.
Okay, that makes sense. That's why I was like, I guess you just can't see me.
Hey, Jim, I actually have more to do than I thought this morning, so I kind of got to bounce. Will I see you at the stadium later today?
Absolutely. I'm on my way, brother.
All right, man. I will see you later today. Have a good one.
If you see my backpack, grab that sumbitch.
I'll see if I can trade it for that bobblehead that you found. How about that?
That works. There you go. That I gave away.
That you gave away.
Hey, when you were standing there, do you remember if I had my backpack on or not?
God, I don't. I don't think you did.
So I'm thinking that I must have left it upstairs in that room.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, because I don't remember.
Which shocks me beyond belief that that's where it was stolen from.
Sorry, man.
I wonder if they have cameras in there.
Surely they do.
Yeah, go have them launch an investigation.
There you go. All right, buddy.
guys.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
See you, Dylan.
Hey, John, what's up next?
Alec, he's here.
Good.
So
God
can you
damn
not
it.
see anybody?
Who, me?
Yeah, can you not see anyone?
I can if I take the phone away from my ear, but I'm holding the phone because I can't hear.
Okay. I got you.
These.
So I'll just have to come in, and it's not going over the radio air, but whenever it's time for break, I'm just going to be saying break, and I'll give it like a minute or two, and if you haven't gotten out, I'll do it again. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, or just break in and become part of the conversation.
That'd be so out of place because I never do that unless it's something that involves me.
Well, where in the hell am I? I can't believe these headphones cannot be dead. There's Alec.
What's going on? I heard you had a Heck of a day yesterday, to say the least.
Fuck, and then it started off this morning. My goddamn battery was dead.
For what? Your laptop or
No, for my fucking car.
your car? Oh my gosh.
So that's why I'm doing it. I was planning on being, on site for the whole show.
Yeah.
Well, I was late getting started.
Yeah. No.
I'll get there right about the halfway mark. And then right at the time when I get there, and somebody, because I kind of got on last night, but they don't give a shit. But somebody needs to do a story on this Hoosiers for good. I'm having the president of the board on the show today.
All right, here we go.
Every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Oh, welcome back. It is Friday. Friday of the Big Ten tournament, as a matter of fact, in town in Indianapolis at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com joins me now. Big day yesterday for Indiana. Alec just got off with Dylan Sinn, but obviously the biggest win for Indiana, not only this season. I mean, I know Purdue was a gigantic win in other ways, but this is big in different ways. And I think what it meant for this team and what it could mean for this team going forward is huge. Of course, the one thing they cannot do is lay an egg today. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they come out and play today.
Yeah, obviously, there's no doubt about it. Yesterday was an absolute must win. I still think, we talked about this last week with Dylan too. I still think they need to win this one today to feel really good about solidifying their spot. Obviously, if they win today, there's no way around it. They're going to be in the field. They've gotten some help, but I think yesterday was a little bit of a bad night for them in terms of kind of where everyone's sitting on the bubble, especially with that Oklahoma win, Virginia Tech making a little bit of a run too. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. Indiana played its best kind of a 12-minute stretch there in that 31-9 run to end the season or to end the game there, which ultimately kept their season alive. And the biggest thing for them is continuing that into today. And that's, one thing that Dylan talked about and you guys just talked about in the last segment there was these teams who get into a little bit of a run playing either if it's the first day of the conference tournament, the second day of the conference tournament, right? Especially being this early game, you see it all the time going back multiple years now where these are where teams really get on a run and make some of these upsets because you have a number one seed like in Illinois or any of these other teams that play in these early games that may have a bye the first day or even a 2-day bye. And they're not used to the arena. They're not used to having almost a week and a half off, right, between games. And they're not in the swing of things. And Indiana coming off a huge, not only emotional win, but just the momentum that they can carry into today. It'll be really interesting to see the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game could tell you a lot about how the way this game's going to end up. Because if Indiana continues that last 12 minutes from yesterday and carries that into the first 5-10 minutes of today, that could go a long way in taking this game, not only but building on that and going through the rest of the Big Ten tournament and the rest of the season. So it'll be a very interesting opening stretch for Indiana today.
I think yesterday, one thing they showed me is they're hungry. They want this. There's been a lot of question, how bad or do they want it? Because we would see them just fall apart at the end of halves, at the end of games, and we saw it happen time and time again. But then yesterday, you're kind of thinking that, and all of a sudden, no, they fought and fought and fought, which is what you've wanted to see all season, fighting till the end. Which now they've got that fight, which bores confidence in each other. It's a smaller it's a smaller group. I think that has kind of finally developed into, now injuries have played a big part of that, of course, Trey Galloway being out, Rob Fennessy being out, but now you've got your pieces back that you need. Now, the one curious thing is Tamar Bates was not a part of that yesterday.
Yep, and I think you look at the rotations and the comments that Mike Woodson's made throughout the better half of the last 2 months here. He just doesn't have a lot of confidence in getting consistency from that bench, and that's why you see guys like Jordan Geronimo play 20 minutes one game or 15 minutes one game and only 6 minutes the next, just due to the inconsistency of every single player in that rotation. And that's why he sticks with those starters a lot, because while they are inconsistent, they seem to be a little bit more consistent in terms of
they're less inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly, and that's unfortunately just the way that Indiana's been put together this season. But now you're really starting to get a lot more consistency from a Miller Kopp, who's played really well over the last 3 games for Indiana, whether it's making shots, whether it's getting some timely rebounds or some hustle plays, but he's really stretching the floor in his ability to kind of come up with timely threes. He hit a couple yesterday in the second half on that run that Indiana went on. But the biggest thing that it's going to come down to is the defensive end of the floor. Indiana, well, that's what they've had the backbone of their success this season, coming from the defensive end of the floor. And yesterday in the second half, when it really ballooned up to that 17-point lead, Michigan was scoring 1.75 points per possession.
Wow.
Up to that point in the second half. It doesn't matter.
Did that break the record? I'm kidding.
It probably was up there. I mean, that's how poorly Indiana was playing on the defensive end of the floor. And we've always heard from not only Mike Woodson, but guys like Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, Xavier Johnson talk about when they get on these runs, it starts from the defensive end. They get out in transition. They get some easy buckets. You cut that lead down from whether it's a 15-point lead, 20-point lead, or 17 like it was yesterday. They quickly went on a 7-0 run in 3 minutes, in less than 3 minutes. I think it was 2 minutes and 50 seconds there to cut that lead down to 10. And so now with 10 minutes left, you're sitting at a 10-point deficit. That's a lot easier to overcome than a 17-point deficit. And they forced, 11 out of the 13 turnovers in the second half for Michigan. So it starts on the defensive end of the floor, and that's where they're really able to get some consistency and some flow from that offense by getting out in transition, getting some easy looks, and then just really starting to build some confidence. And you saw it from Xavier Johnson all afternoon, and nothing new from him. It's a common theme where he's the only one who can really create offense from this team. And when he went out in the first half, that really, really hurt them. But when he was able to come back in the second half, play under control, especially after he picked up that early third foul, that changed the game for Indiana. And you heard Devontae Jones talk about that. You heard Juwan Howard talk about that post game. His energy really changed the narrative in the way that second half was going.
Yeah, Xavier Johnson from the tip looked hungry but controlled, was moving the ball around, not turning it over, taking care of the ball. And the biggest thing for me in that second half, India, they went on you said a 31-9 run, but it was a 28-4 run starting at the 11:04 mark, I think. I went back and looked. Down to like inside the 2-minute mark. 28-4. That's reminiscent of the 28-0 run about 5 years ago. They put on them to just shock Michigan, but that was kind of like the same yesterday. I mean, a 28-4 run is like, man, the offense was there. Even in the past, when the defense had been there, the offense hadn't always been there. They hadn't always been able to use the value of what they did on defense on the other end. This time they did. And that, I would think and hope, gives them confidence going forward to continue doing it just like that. The only problem they've had is having success and then going away from what had been successful. So let's hope that they stay where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing going into today is continuing that momentum, but getting that consistency from game to game, especially from the bench. A couple of the a couple of the listeners over here talking about Trey Galloway and Jordan Geronimo, and we had a piece up about it yesterday. And everyone in the post game, from Mike Woodson to Trace Jackson Davis to Xavier Johnson, talked about those two players. Without Trey Galloway or Jordan Geronimo, Indiana doesn't win that game yesterday, and Indiana honestly doesn't stay afloat in some of these games earlier in the season too. Without those two guys, without their energy coming off the bench, without their ability to really be those versatile players to get runs started on the defensive end, because of their ability to switch, because of their athleticism, their ability to get into passing lanes and create some easy offense. How many times have we seen Trey Galloway just jump a passing lane, get out for an easy bucket, and start to kind of get some momentum going? And without those two guys, I think all season, and you look back to obviously Trey Galloway missing almost 16 games up to this point in the season. You compound that with Rob Finney obviously missing a month of action, and those are two guys that, along with Jordan Geronimo, really kind of got that run going for Indiana yesterday. And it was a lineup that I think you're probably going to see a lot more of today, especially if Indiana gets down into a little bit of a hole, just due to their really good ability to play as a unit in a full team on the defensive end and really kind of spark some of those runs.
So speaking of today, first thing, the importance that jumps out to me is Xavier Johnson staying out of foul trouble, because he's probably going to draw a tough defensive assignment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the first game, and it was Trent Frazier who obviously killed Indiana. He was 8 of 11 from the field, but it was also Jacob Grandison, the kind of stretch four, who really kind of created a little bit of a matchup problem early in the second half. There, he hit a couple big time shots, a couple big threes to really get Illinois on that second half run to eventually take over the game. He's going to be a game time decision today. If he doesn't play, that puts Illinois in a little bit of a hole, because they don't have that true stretch forward who can really knock down some shots from the outside like Grandison can at 41%. So that's going to be something to watch here as we in the next few hours get into warmups and see if he's going to be able to go. Because if not, that's going to put Indiana in a lot better position to not only potentially play Jordan Geronimo a little bit more, especially with kind of maybe some of their deficiencies. Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis's deficiencies guarding on the perimeter. But also it just gives Indiana a lot more options defensively if you don't have a guy who can stretch the floor, shoot 41%. So a couple of those things right there definitely stick out immediately. And then I think you look at Kofi Coburn and potentially start Race Thompson on Kofi Coburn instead of Trace Jackson Davis. Just due to obviously the foul trouble that Trace can get in early in games. And, whether we look at the Purdue game and see the offensive flow that Indiana had when Trace was out, or some different games this season where the offense tends to be a little bit more free flowing in big games, especially like you saw in the second half yesterday. You don't win that game without Trace Jackson Davis, the way he took that over too, and you're going to need him on the floor. And so at the end of the day, I think limiting those fouls, being able to throw different bodies, obviously Michael Dorr, Jordan Geronimo are going to play key parts, whether it's for 5 minutes, or whether it's for 20 in this game against Kofi Coburn, and their ability to really kind of play one-on-one defense, or just a slight kind of a fade down from one of the top guards. But I think if you can limit the double teams on Kofi Coburn today and force him to go up one-on-one against Michael Dorr or Jordan Geronimo or Race Thompson or Trace, I think you're going to be a lot more successful than allowing guys like Alfonso Plummer or Trent Frazier or Curbelo getting hot from the perimeter, or getting into the lane and creating for others. Yeah,
as yesterday you saw hero, or I don't want to say hero, but the unexpected play from certain guys of Indiana stepping up. Jordan Geronimo. Today, that could be Michael Durr, because I think that he probably – Trace Jackson cannot guard Kofi Coburn. I'll just be straight up honest about that. Michael Durr may be the guy that comes in to relieve Race and could be the difference maker. And that that's what Indiana is probably going to need to win a game like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you go back to the first matchup, it wasn't Kofi Coburn that killed you efficiency-wise. I mean, he was only 6 of 13 from the field. And we both know he's not getting any looks outside of the either post block there. So the fact that you limited him to only 6 of 13, the defense was fine on him. It was just their inability, and they've shown this at times this season, Indiana's inability to guard perimeter players and slow down perimeter players. And that's going to be a key. With Rob Finney back, with Trey Galloway, I think both of those guys help with guarding either if it's Plummer or Frazier. But I think still Xavier Johnson's role on the defensive end is going to be key as well, like you mentioned. And I think those guard matchups are going to be the ones that ultimately decide the outcome of this game.
Any other surprises that you've seen so far in this tournament?
No, I know you guys talked about it briefly with Iowa, that offensive performance they put on yesterday. I mean, they're one of the hottest teams offensively in the country here, and if they can continue to shoot the ball like that, that's going to be extremely fun to watch if you're not playing them. I think the biggest surprise is just Michigan State and Ohio State. All right, Ohio State still dealing with a lot of injuries. They fumble one against Penn State, not playing their best at the time of year that you really need to be, and they're really slipping. And also Michigan State. You'd think that they at some point would be able to find some sort of consistency, and they just really haven't. And I think despite the win yesterday, they just continue to show a lot of deficiencies in that guard play that we've talked about when Indiana played them or talked about them in different portions of the show this season. And that's just something to watch for Michigan State if they want to make any sort of run or even win a game in the NCAA tournament. That backcourt and their inability to have a real go-to player offensively is something that I know Tom Izzo is kind of pulling his whatever little bit of hair he has left on that head out.
Break.
Oh, man. Let's see. What are some of the matchups today besides Indiana and Illinois? Who do we have playing? I don't have the list in front of me.
Yep. So it's Rutgers, Iowa is the second one there. I'm pretty excited about that one. That should be a really good game, especially to see if Rutgers can build on this double bye that they had. That Michigan State, Wisconsin, and then Penn State, Purdue, which will be kind of fun to see Shrewsbury go up against Matt Painter and Purdue in the nightcap there for Big Ten wise.
Yeah, but what was this, the second to last game?
Michigan State, Wisconsin.
That is probably going to be the most boring game of the day. Yeah.
No, I mean, both teams struggle to score at times. We'll see if Johnny Davis is ready.
But it could turn out to be if Johnny Davis isn't ready to go, they don't have I wouldn't say they had a chance if they were playing anybody but Michigan State. Michigan State's not exactly playing great, like you said. It's so easy on the other side. Oh my God. It's like, man. It's you can just walk through that side of the tournament.
Yeah, especially if Johnny Davis isn't playing, right? I mean, we'll see if they can get him back. They can get through Michigan State, get back and play Purdue and have both teams healthy. I think that'll be kind of the big one that so many fans are really looking forward to as a semifinal. And see what happens. Maybe a couple teams get hot and you get an Indiana Purdue final. And I think that obviously be fun for multiple different reasons.
Yep, we will certainly find out. Appreciate it, Alec. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, everybody, because they have got tons of content up from yesterday about coming.
All right, it seems we have lost Jim for a second. I'm sure he's had some audio issues the past couple of days, but it's fine. Alec, we're going to let you go. Coming up next, we got Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, so stick around for that. Alec, thanks again for joining us. Remember, as Jim was saying, check out thehoosier.com for all the content coming up later today during the Big Ten tournament and as the rest of the season goes on. Thanks again, Alec.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, we'll be back with more right after this. We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
An Evansville tradition.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, who knows? Zach, are you there with us? You here with us, Zach?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I see you
All
and
right,
hear
yeah,
you.
I'm getting in the car right now. So
Perfect.
Yep. Same kind of day I'm having, Zach.
yep.
Battery was dead this morning.
Sorry, give me 1 second here.
You're fine.
You're good.
We're in
fine.
commercial
We're in
right
a
now. You're fine.
And Zach, we'll make it quick too.
Okay.
John,
Once I'm in the car, I don't really care. I mean, once I'm on the
Jim,
road,
what do you have?
I got all the time in the world.
you know what? Zach, coming up next, I have Pete Yonkman and Tyler Harris from Hoosiers for Good. You're welcome to.
What's up?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I actually talked to Pete, and I need to connect with Tyler. So, kind of doing something on them myself.
What's Tyler? Who is Tyler? What's his role?
He's the director of the action. Sorry, give me a second here. I'm trying to get you on. I just got a new car. There we go. Trying to get you on. Is it all right if I turn my camera off?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, it's just going to be me staring up at this. All right. No, I mean, I'm just going to do a story about him probably next week. So, Tyler is like the director of the foundation. He was IU's director of compliance.
Gotcha.
Jim, are you with us again? Okay.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's a Fred Glass operation. So like, I mean, there is a real. It's other people too, but Fred is one of them. But it is a
right. I know he's their counsel.
I mean, that's always Fred's MO and this kind of stuff. And I think that's why they brought somebody in with extensive compliance experience, was to just make sure that like nothing they were doing was
right
below board or anything like that. So, because everybody's still figuring so much of this stuff out, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, the reason I said you can stay on if you want, because they're joining at 9:30, so you're welcome to stay on if you want, or not.
I'll try if I can. That'll be Martinsville time. So, whatever's glad.
All right. Here we go. 25 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back in.
You're good for Martinsville, by the way.
2017 through 2021 Honda certified pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, on this Friday. Big Ten tournament going on in Indianapolis at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where we will all be later. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joins us now, also en route to Gamebridge Fieldhouse for today's festivities. Zach, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Why are you letting Andy Moore tell those lies about all new? I've been taking my car to Andy Moore Honda service for like 10 years now. It's the same place it's always been, Andy. Come on. But they did just, to be fair, they did just put me in a new CRV. So thank you, Andy.
You know what? I heard you say you bought a new car the other day, and I almost asked. I was like, man, I hope you went to Andy Moore's. If not, I could have got you to help you out with a deal.
No, I had a Pilot that I just was driving till it died, and it was time for it to go to live on a farm with a whole bunch of other pilots. So they really took care of me over there. So this is genuinely unprompted. This is not this was not planned, but I really have gone there for just routine maintenance for years, and their maintenance people are really good to me. So when it was time to look for a new car, it was kind of a no-brainer.
They're definitely the great people to deal with. Yeah, you got the new one, and so you got to get a new car. You got the new, you got the two kids now, so perfect. The little all-American family. You got to have the new car to drive them around, safe, all that good stuff. So you're set.
Yeah, I mean, as long as this one's not leaking 3 different types of fluid like the other one was, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I understand that deal. I'm putting in power steering fluid a little too often now as it is. Yesterday, an exciting game for Indiana fans, of course. Indiana with a monster win over Michigan. I say monster because of what it means for them, what it means for the team in general, but what it could mean for them, what it could mean for their postseason, what it could mean for the program. Most importantly, the level of play we saw, the second half, where we routinely have seen Indiana teams just fold. They did the exact opposite. They came out, and after getting punched in the mouth several times in the first half, they came out swinging and didn't stop right to the bell.
I think the didn't stop part is maybe the most interesting piece of it for me. I mean, I tweeted this yesterday. Even just in the first 2 possessions of that second half, you could see Indiana had kind of a renewed determination. Michigan started with the ball, and they fed Hunter Dickinson in the high post. And, I mean, Trace Jackson-Davis was just just in his back pocket, just clawing at the ball and just right up on him and all this. Clearly, I thought kind of frustrated Dickinson a little bit as that half wore on. But the point is, Indiana did that, and then 7.5 minutes into the half, Indiana was actually down 17 when they'd only been down 13 at halftime. They were -4 7.5 minutes into the half, and you would have kind of forgiven them, or I don't know, forgiven is the word fans would use, but you would have understood from a neutral perspective if they'd said, well, we gave it our best effort, and we can't solve these guys. We came out with just a real sort of sharpness, and they're still putting points on us. But it was the persistence in that, and to get through 10 minutes of really not being able to pull Michigan back in a tangible way and just still keep coming and keep coming and keep coming until that game did turn into the one that Trace Jackson-Davis compared it to post-game, which is Indiana's loss at Wisconsin, where one team's got a big lead, but the other team's got all the confidence. And the other team is the one that feels like it's going to win the game. And that's kind of where Indiana landed in the end.
Yeah, Trace Jackson-Davis, of course, a great performance, especially in the second half. He was limited in the first half. He didn't really show up, 5 points. And it was Hunter Dickinson having his way with 13 first-half points. And then you flop that in the second half. Trace Jackson-Davis, I think, was 19 and of the 24 total. But Hunter Dickinson, 2 second-half points. That is gigantic.
No, I mean, Jackson-Davis was fantastic. Also had 4 blocks after halftime. Just really ramped up the rim protection. I thought that if there's one thing kind of from a Michigan perspective that surprised me, I thought Juwan Howard left his big lineup on the bench too long. He pulled Houston out of the game. I'd have to go back and look at the play-by-play, but somewhere around kind of the 11, 12-minute mark. And he didn't put him back in until Indiana had gotten the game within about 7. And that felt like it just had taken too long. Again, if you want to compare it to the Wisconsin game, there was that long stretch in the second half where I think Mike Woodson was waiting for the under-8 timeout to get Race Thompson and Trace Jackson-Davis back on the floor, and it just wouldn't come. And finally, I think he just had to take a timeout to get them on. But by that point, Wisconsin had kind of taken control of the game. It was sort of similar yesterday. I thought the other player that deserved a lot of credit, and not that Xavier Johnson scored all Trace Jackson-Davis's points, but yesterday's a reminder that a really good point guard is the best solution to getting a really good big man settled into a game. Because I thought Xavier Johnson in that second half, the performance we saw from the two of them was very much reminiscent of what a lot of us said coming out of the Purdue game last weekend, which was if Indiana plays like that, particularly offensively, they've got a chance to do what they need to do in Indianapolis to get into the tournament. The question was just whether we'd see it consistently. Obviously, first half gets kind of chopped up. Xavier Johnson had foul trouble. He was still Indiana's leading scorer in the first half, and I think he still had 3 assists too. 3 rebounds. He had all 7 of his assists in the second half. And in the second half, he and Jackson-Davis just found a rhythm in that sort of that ball screen offense where you can – it's so difficult to defend because Jackson-Davis is mobile, is athletic, and because Johnson has maybe just slowed down that half beat that allows him to make all the right reads. where he was playing, fast and on the edge earlier in the season, and that was, that's who he is. But I think Mike Woodson has maybe slowed him down just like 5 miles an hour, and he's still going fast. He's still going faster than almost anybody else on the floor, but just going a little bit slower is helping him make the right decisions and make the right course corrections. And I mean, man, his last 6 games, 18.7 points, 6.5 assists, 12 of 24 from 3. I forget what his totals are, but his percentage from the free throw line is 88.9%. I mean, he is playing here in March as well as any point guard in the Big Ten.
And possibly the country.
I mean, maybe, certainly. I mean, and obviously, listen, the other part of this is the Big Ten doesn't exactly have a ton of elite sort of true point guards, if you want to say. A lot of their best playmakers are guys like Johnny Davis and Jaden Ivey. But in terms of, in terms of true points, I mean, there's really nobody who's playing better than Johnson right now.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I asked Mike about yesterday. We talk about it being a tale of two halves with Trace Jackson Davis and Hunter Dickinson. But the one thing that Xavier Johnson has been is consistent in each half. Yesterday he had –
Jim, you muted yourself.
He was stronger in the second half, but consistent. 8 points in the first half, 9 points in the second half. I think 6 of his 8 assists. He had 8 assists or 8 rebounds, but came in the second half. But his consistency has just been there. He's not getting too high and too low. He's staying consistent, and that is, like you said, that is helping people like Trace Jackson Davis get their game going. Even Miller Kopp, this offense has just expanded in the last few games, and him getting more active seems to have given him more confidence, even with his long-range shooting.
And I think it just, again, all of it slowing down, maybe just that half beat. Sometimes you see this with point guards. You struggle to find the balance in terms of saying we still want you to play fast, just a little bit slower, just take your foot off the pedal just a little bit. You'll still be faster than basically everybody else on the floor, but in the same breath, you'll be slow enough that you're making most of the right decisions. I mean, you look at his numbers, like they really don't lie. His assist rate is up over, I think, 36% in conference play. His turnover rate's under 19%. I mean, that is fantastic. Like that's basically 2 to 1. And I know it's percentages, so it's the ratios don't quite work out, but in conference play, he has found a different gear. And I think we've known for a while now that Indiana, really at the beginning of the season, Indiana was kind of Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis, and then kind of figure out how the other pieces fit around them. I think we've known for a while that Indiana is the other part of Indiana's ceiling is how far Xavier Johnson can take them because a point guard is always going to have more influence on a game than a big man can, simply because you can get him out in space and isolate him, and he's got the ball in his hands all the time. And obviously Johnson is he's taken that up multiple levels now. If they win today, if they get into the tournament, any success they have in the tournament, it is going to be based largely around, obviously Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson, that should go without saying, but also largely around Xavier Johnson.
Without question. And their matchup today against Illinois, obviously, I think Illinois is the favorite to win the tournament, but a tough assignment for Indiana today, coming back off of the game yesterday. I don't know if that helps or hurts them coming right back today, but we're going to find out.
If Michigan's the toughest matchup for Indiana in the conference because of all their big wings, I think Illinois is the second toughest because Indiana wants to be able to pressure the perimeter, but Illinois's got such skilled guards. It's got such experienced guards that they're not bothered by that pressure, and all you need is for one of them to break it enough to hit a couple threes, and all of a sudden you're kind of in scramble drill. And then you've also obviously got Kofi Coburn. I do wonder what Jacob Grandison's status is. I think that he's kind of that one sort of hybrid wing body that doesn't let Indiana go bigger against Illinois, and I think he has a shoulder issue. I'm pretty sure he missed the game against Iowa, the season finale against Iowa, that could work in Indiana's favor. But ultimately, if you're Indiana, there's also a simplicity to you might be in the field right now, you might not. If you win this game, you're in. No Dayton, no bubble, no sweating it on Selection Sunday. Win this game, and you can feel absolutely confident that you are in the NCAA tournament field.
Absolutely. Jack,
when it's that simple, it's not that hard.
There you go. We'll certainly find out. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Look forward. I'll see you here in a little bit at the Cambridge Fieldhouse.
Absolutely. We'll drive up safe.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Hey, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat. We are looking to have Pete Yonkman, the president of the board for the Hoosiers for Good, the NIL arm for Indiana. Back with that right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
All right. Hey, Pete, can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, I can.
I see Tyler's trying to connect, but it's something's failing on his, and I'm not sure if you can. Oh, well, he just disappeared, so maybe he'll rejoin with us. But
okay,
Jim, Pete's with us.
All right.
Hear me all right?
Yeah, can you hear us, Pete?
Yep, good.
Looks like Tyler's here. Tyler, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Perfect. Jim, both Pete and Tyler are here, and we're in a break right now, guys. We'll be back from commercial in a couple minutes.
And guys, pardon me, I had a late start to the day. I had a dead battery, and
Jim's had a fun morning.
Yes, a whole fun last 2 days.
I understand.
Had my backpack come up missing yesterday from the tournament.
Oh, God.
My laptop and all that stuff in it.
That's like having your life stolen from you.
Exactly. It is. There's no doubt. I was like, oh, my God. I was trying to contemplate what all was in it. You're like losing your phone.
Jim, are you at Cambridge? Is that what you were?
Am I at Cambridge? I just got to.
Okay.
I want to get out of the car.
You got about a minute and a half if you want to shift.
I will
to
go.
video.
I will. I'm going to go find a suitable backdrop.
Okay.
Hoping everything's in this backpack that I need.
Let's see. What's this?
John,
Oh yeah, so they can hear us live on YouTube, but over the air for radio, we're on break. Yeah, that's the way that our setup is.
Gotcha. Okay. That was a good
Pete,
win.
it's nice to meet you.
No, I think we can still hear. I was going to say it was a good win yesterday for IU. I was in a meeting all day, and I checked the score before I went in the meeting. I was like, oh boy! And then somehow I came out of the meeting. We had won, so it was a pleasant surprise.
All right, I'm going to bring us back from break. We've got about 30 seconds, so it looks like Jim just dropped out, so that's not good. Hopefully he'll be with us in just a second. Yeah, let me ask you this. Okay, here he is. He's reconnecting. There we go. All right, coming back from break.
Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Friday Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from Cambridge Fieldhouse as the Big Ten Men's Basketball Tournament 2022 underway. Day 3, actually. Indiana playing Illinois in the first game at 11:30. And speaking of the Hoosiers, joined by Tyler Harris and Pete Youngman. If you're not
been paying attention. A new NIL arm, I guess I'll call it, Hoosiers for Good. Pete is the president of the board, I guess you'd say. Tyler, what is your role for them? I don't.
Yeah, so I'm the executive director of Hoosiers for Good.
And this is the way I understand it, Pete. This is there's so many people out there that are jumping in and doing the NIL stuff, and it's unregulated. It's like the Wild Wild West. To me, this seems like a way of a group kind of trying to have some control over things and making sure that nothing nefarious is going on and knowing exactly who's doing what with whom.
Yeah, so it is interesting. It actually is regulated. There are some rules put out by
on paper.
Yeah, there are some pretty clear rules from the NCAA, and I think if you look at the announcements from some schools, they don't seem to have read those regulations. So, but we really wanted to find a pathway here that was doing it the Indiana way, which was let's do this the right way, let's do it following the rules, and let's find a way that these kids can benefit from their NIL, but at the same time, they can do some really good in our community too.
And a lot of those things are, like you said, are philanthropic, dealing with I saw the Boys and Girls Club of Bloomington is one of those, and I know there's a number of others. Riley's Children's Hospital is involved. So a lot of positive things can come out of it, in addition to it working both ways, which is also a great thing because now there is direction on what is being done and the positivity that comes out of that. How have you guys, did you come to this, Tyler? How did this come about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give credit to Pete. He's the brainchild behind it. They came to me because of my background in the compliance office at IU and really wanted to do things the right way. So naturally it was a fit. I was excited about the opportunities we were going to be able to provide to student athletes and them using their NIL to make it a better place, make Indiana communities a better place. So I'm excited to get on board. It's my first day. Still learning, but excited to get on board.
And ironically, I met Liz Alcus the other night, unrelated to this. She was out at Mike Woodson's coach's show at Southern Stone, and she came over to me, talk to the person, Mike Ross, the owner who I'm sitting with. But this was before this was announced, and then the next day or two, I see I'm like, oh my God, she's a board member. So, and I happened to see her at the tournament here a couple of days ago for a few seconds. But you guys have got a great mix of people from the Indianapolis, and not just Indianapolis, but from the community that are used to doing good. You're with Cook Medical, of course. Liz is with Riley's Children's Hospital. People from all walks of life. Fred Glass, I know, is the council. Former athletic director for Indiana, the council. So a great group of people has been put together for this.
Yeah, for sure. Calvert Cheney is part of our board. How did I forget him? Yeah, we have a great mix of people, right? We have people who are involved in the charitable space. We have student athletes who have just left school and been part of really connected to how the student athletes are today. We also have people like Calvert who clearly understand college athletics and what it is to be like a student athlete. And also, I think he understands particularly well the power that these student athletes have, right? The spotlight that shines very brightly on student athletes, not just the ones on the basketball team and the football team, but all of them, right? When they wear that uniform, when you put the IU uniform on, people listen. I always say, if you drive across the state, you look at how many IU flags are in front of houses and businesses. I really think these student athletes carry more voice and have more of a platform than just about anybody, politician, celebrity, anywhere. People listen to what these kids say. And so if we can partner with them and have them really shine this light on organizations like Riley, but even smaller, even some of these smaller charitable organizations that just don't get that spotlight, we think we can really drive some real benefit for people.
And so in layman's terms, for fans, exactly what is going to be going on? I know that funds are going to be gathered, brought in, and watched, and then now how that goes out to or is used with athletes, how is that going to manifest itself?
Yeah, so I'll jump in, let Tyler speak there for more specifics. But so Hoosiers for Good is a Indiana not-for-profit company. We're now seeking 501c3 status from the IRS, which means if we get that status, people are able to donate and get a tax credit for that donation. We don't have that yet, but we're seeking it. So we've already raised several $1 million for this effort. And the idea is we will go partner with student athletes, and we'll partner them with a charity, and they'll promote them on social media. They'll get to know about the clients these charities serve. They'll do events for these folks and really try to drive real change and real benefit for these organizations. So we're going to be doing deals here very, very shortly. I know Tyler's working like crazy. He's only his 4th day on the job, but he's hit the ground running, and we're excited about the potential some of these student athletes bring. You know, if you look right now, right, like some of the players have tremendous name recognition, like a Trace or a Race. These guys have big name recognition. But if you go back in history, we would have had, imagine what we could have done with like a Lily King when she was in school, and partnering her with Riley Children's Hospital or Turnstone in Fort Wayne. I mean, the attention would have been tremendous.
How much would you have sold of Steve Alford? I mean, I think of Steve Alford, which not for any. He was the name around the state. I mean, you talk about Damon Bailey. I mean, names that capture. I'm like, wow, yeah, they could have killed it.
Kyle Schwarber. Think about Kyle Schwarber when he was playing baseball.
Yeah, there's so many different things. How do you determine who you work with, on what team, what athletes, and all of that?
Tyler, I'll let you
Tyler?
Yeah. We're not going to have a one size fits all model when it comes to these NIL agreements. But we always fall back on our foundational principles. So we've got kind of two things that we work through, right? Student athletes that have a platform already that really can create value for our charitable partners. But on the flip side, we're going to be launching a first of its kind charitable incubator program that will encourage broad-based participation from all IU student athletes, and they'll submit a proposal to us, and then we can't fund all of them, but we'll partner with them for an NIL agreement to help them reach their passion and their voice.
Yeah, I think it's also what you're looking for is somebody who, we call them stars in our world, right? A star for us is a student athlete that has a platform and a voice, that wants to use that in a way that's really positive and authentic. So we're looking for those student athletes who bring something to the table, and they're like, you know what, I get this. I think I have this passion about whatever that issue is for them. We can partner them, but we want them to learn. One of the things we hope will come out of this is that these student athletes, whether they go to be a pro or not, they're going to be leaders in our community. And if we can get them experiences early in life that allow them to see the benefit and the power they have as an athlete, but also then just as a leader, I think that's a really positive thing.
And there, like I mentioned earlier, there are other people out there that try to do NIL deals, which are basically independent. And like there are regulations, like you said, but I've just kind of laughed at that because I remember Texas came out with this deal for any offensive lineman that signed had a $50,000 deal. I'm like, well, that's against the rules because it's an unnamed person. It's just a blank check basically being offered. So that's what I was laughing about when I said that earlier. But and now Indiana wanting to do everything the right way as they always have done. Is there any way of not wanting student athletes to deal outside of you guys?
Oh no, we don't view that. We're a pathway that student athletes can choose. There may be some athletes who say, I want to sell shoes and stuff. Great for them. There'll be lots of opportunities for them to do that. We're just creating a separate pathway where we think like, hey, if you're kind of interested in building your brand and understanding that the power that you have, this is a real opportunity. I think it's really important, no matter where a student athlete goes, especially if they go to the pros, right? If you're a student athlete that's going to be a pro player, I think you have an obligation and really to sort of give back and use that power that you're gaining in a way that can be positive. And I think student athletes today know that. They know they need to be connected to their communities. And that's why we want to create this early platform and pathway for them to do that.
In Tyler, Indiana, everything is so much bigger now with marketing and visual stimulus that we get. Indiana goes to the lengths of, I think, designing logos for the players. And so they're kind of getting a head start on branding themselves. Are you all going to try to expound upon what they have going from that, or something separate as far as branding them as an athlete?
Yeah, so we are a separate entity, but we are going to work through ways that we can identify them as a Hoosiers for Good athlete. Because it all goes back to their brand, and I truly believe student athletes are going to really positively impact the brand. When people see them engaging in charitable work, just like Pete said, it creates community-minded leaders. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are passionate about what we're doing. And from my time at IU, I think we'll have no shortage of student athletes who would be interested.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
But I was going to say, I have two boys. They're 9 and 14, and they both play sports. And it's amazing to watch these student athletes on social media, right? They copy with the clothes they wear, the music they listen to, what they say. If these student athletes start putting out, hey, this is my real world experience of helping a kid deal with childhood leukemia, boy, that's going to make an impact on these younger generations too. People are going to get this. And that's why we're excited to be able to talk more about this, because I think people, once they start to understand NIL, I think there's still some confusion out there, but they see this pathway that student athletes are going to be able to bring. We're excited about that. And we've already had great interest from donors. And by the way, if people are interested in learning more, we have a HoosiersForGood.org website. People can donate directly there. And, we're excited about the deals we're going to do here very shortly in the next few weeks.
We'll get that up on the site as well. I was going to say, what's your anticipated first deal, quote unquote deal, to be announced?
Yeah, we're working through that. There's a lot of layers that are involved, with NIL, right? Some student athletes have agents that you have to work directly with. Some student athletes do not, and you have to find a way to get in contact with them. But at the end of the day, we'll be announcing some here in the next couple of weeks, and they'll all go back to kind of what I think is a defensible mechanism and tangible evidence as to why we're selecting people. And big platform, maybe they're from the state of Indiana, but we're going to be a diverse group, and we want to get a lot of participation.
I think a lot of this is going to depend upon, as time goes forward here, it's student athletes, right? What do they bring to the table? You may have some years where the basketball team is the most recognizable players in the world, but it goes back to like when Lily King was here. I would argue she was probably the most recognizable person at IU athletics. So, and then there are times when the football player, the quarterback, or the linebacker, it depends. We also say it's probably likely that the way social media is today, there may be a backup volleyball player who has 100,000 followers and is passionate about food insecurity. That person is going to be a star for us. So there's a little bit democratic here, how these students build their brand and how they build their platforms.
It sounds amazing. And this is, from what I understand, the first of its kind, the way you guys have set this up. Is this right?
So I think there are folks who are doing a lot of things out there.
Right.
We think we're the first of our kind who has been transparent about these are the rules and we're going to follow them. There are a lot of organizations that I think are, I'm not going to speak on specifics of them, but I think they're trying to wrap themselves in charitable, and I'm not sure they are. So I think we just have said we want to do this transparently. You can go to our website, see what we're about. We've made sure we've let every organization, all the regulators know what we're doing. We just want to do this the right way, the Hoosier way, and make sure there's no problems for the university or for us or their student athletes.
And it seems like you guys are doing this without the attention. The attention goes to the student athlete and whomever they're working with, whatever cause it is.
That's exactly right. Like, I give you an example. There's an organization here in Indianapolis called Stop the Violence, and it's run by Anthony Beverly. He's really working hard to decrease the amount of violent crime that happens in some of our communities. He's a small organization. He was never going to have the ability to go out and hire a student athlete to bring attention to his work. But now we have the ability, because of who we are and our organization, we have the ability to partner some student athletes who may care about this and bring some real attention to an organization that's doing tremendous work that never in the past would have had this capability.
Well, Pete and Tyler, I can't thank you enough. Looking forward to talking more about this as it goes further and grows, and staying in touch with you, because it sounds like this is going to be a fantastic organization and something fun for all the Indiana students, athletes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you both, guys. We got more Indiana Sports Beat coming back to you from Gamebridge Fieldhouse as Indiana takes on Illinois today. Back with that and much more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Man, I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate it so much. Pete, are you in Indy, I guess?
No, I live in Bloomington.
Oh, you do? Tyler, where are you?
I live in Bloomington as well.
Oh, cool. You have to come out to Southern Stone or something one night. I'd love to meet you guys. And Mike Ross, you know Mike? Ross, he owns Southern Stone. He's an IU athletics partner. He owns several things there, but he's an IU athletics partner. It's someone you definitely going to want to meet.
For sure. Well, we appreciate the coverage and we appreciate you talking about this, because we're excited about it. I mean, obviously we're biased, but I do think this is a win for everybody, right? You know, the student athletes get the benefit from their NIL, but these charitable partners they need more spotlight and they need more attention. I think we can bring that to them.
Absolutely. And we'll get, like I said, we'll get all the information and we'll get it on the site. I also own Indiana Rivals sports website, which is pretty big. So we can get that information out there. We're going to have the guys do a story as well.
That's great. Thank you, Jim. That means a lot. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See ya.
John, I'm going to race and try to get inside the building. I don't think that I can do it quick enough. But
you got under 2 minutes, and our boy Jeffrey's here. Jeff,
I don't even know who this Jim is, man. Like dressed and no hat. It's crazy.
Look at this.
Wow.
You need to wipe off your camera lens, too. I didn't have time to tell you last segment because you came in right when we started.
Are you a plug?
Oh, man.
There's one
What you say?
No pool, no nothing. That killed us. Two, out. We didn't even ask.
Were your Hawkeyes doing steroids yesterday, Jeff?
Yes, we were. Correct. Yeah.
Who we are.
I think she told me that this history.
Oh, God.
Jeffrey the Greek is?
We're not live yet, but he is here with us. Can you see him? Man, he looks like.
You're going to need him to do that.
That's crazy.
All right, Jim, we've got about 30 seconds. All right.
Do you need to sell your unwanted jewelry, diamonds, or watches? Well, Brinker's Jewelers is here to help. During the entire month of January,
Where's the Illinois bus
you can
arriving?
sell it and receive 20% more cash for your unwanted gold and silver jewelry items. You can trade it in and get 20% more in-store credit toward a new jewelry purchase. You can redesign it and turn your unwanted jewelry into something you will wear and treasure for years to come. Brinker's Jewelers provides free evaluations, top prices, and immediate payment in a relaxed atmosphere. Visit our showroom today at the corner of Green River Road and Orange Expressway.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Oh, welcome back. I just wanted to give you a taste of it. As walking into Gamebridge, the Illinois team bus was arriving back behind us, but it is snowing here in Indianapolis. Snowing. I don't know if you can see that snow coming down, but it is, and it's freaking cold. I'm about to walk through the security deal, but welcome in Jeffrey the Greek, Jeffrey, and you can do the talking for the next couple of minutes. Once I get through the door, I'm going to be How have you been?
I'm good, man. 112 points yesterday, no big deal.
What was that, man?
This is what we do. It's the new age Hawkeyes. We make 19 3-pointers and we actually rebound and play some defense.
You go ahead, brother. I'm going through security, so I'm gonna have to put my phone down.
John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'll help fill the absence of Jim, but yeah. I didn't get to catch a lot of the Hawkeyes game yesterday being at work, but man, like you all were saying, 112 points. I don't know how many 3-pointers they made, but I know that it was a ton. I saw some of the highlights in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I think even Northwestern's coach helped me out with his name.
Chris Collins.
I think Chris Collins was essentially like basketball, like almost like no other sport is one of those deals where if one team gets hot, there's really not much the other team can do. Except to sit back and watch the show pretty much like the rest of us. And that's pretty much what it was yesterday. I mean, I feel like somebody could have done a behind the back shot, 2 feet behind the 3-point line. There's a pretty good chance it would have went in for Iowa. So it was just one of those days.
Yeah, you could say Indiana had a similar type of luck in the second half, the way they were down 17 against Michigan and everything started going their way and Michigan had no response to that. And look what happened on the other side of that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's most of college sports is a game of emotion. I think Kirk Herbstreit's pretty famous for saying that for quite some time. And, college football definitely is like that. But I don't know if any sport is more susceptible to runs and momentum swings like college basketball. We saw it a bunch of times yesterday. I mean, obviously Indiana might be the best example of that. Iowa all game long. And then Maryland making a, big time comeback at some point yesterday versus Michigan State. I mean, those were just amazing games yesterday. And it's just fun watching one of those teams get hot and just attack. And it's all of a sudden it's as if the other team's just stuck in mud. There's nothing they can do about it.
Now, I do believe if both Indiana and Iowa win their games today, then they'll face off against each other tomorrow in the semifinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that would be pretty interesting. You
have like the Big Ten's best defense going against likely the Big Ten's best offense. I mean, I know they played earlier this year, but we haven't seen them play since that first game.
Yeah, would be great to see it. I mean, I definitely would appreciate that. I'm sure all your listeners would too. Iowa's got to get past a rugged Rutgers team.
Yes,
first. I mean, Rutgers is insane to me. They're higher seeded than Iowa. Yet if Iowa wins today, there's a pretty good chance Rutgers doesn't even make the NCAA tournament. And I mean, just how it shook out for obviously overall record to conference record. I think I saw Iowa's like a 6 or 7 point favorite today versus Rutgers. I have no idea what to expect. I'm pretty sure Iowa's not going to score 112 points, but we'll see. We'll see if they're kind of, I think the ideal situation was what happened for Iowa yesterday, which is they were hot. They got a bunch of points on the board, but they could essentially rest most of their starters most of the second half. So, they got the edge to them yesterday playing, but at the same time, they got rest to play, obviously, a well-rested team in Rutgers. I mean, the Big Ten basketball was good yesterday. It could be even better today, especially if you just look at the matchups.
You see, the issue with Rutgers is the reason they're on the bubble is because they lost 3 games in a row at the beginning of the season to DePaul, Lafayette, and then UMass. And that little stretch right there in their non-conference season is essentially why their schedule or their strength, I guess, of resume doesn't hold up the way that it should.
I mean, I get it, but how a team is playing at the end of the year, for me, if that should be a criteria for the selection committee. I mean, along with the net and all that stuff that they do. But if I'm starting to, look at the bubble and non-bubble teams, I if possible, I would put a lot of weight on how they've played the last 10 games or so.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to play Rutgers right now. I don't know. I mean, another funny stat was Virginia. I saw this. Virginia won an ACC tournament game yesterday. Did not make one 3-pointer. Not one 3-pointer in the game. Iowa was one short of 20 yesterday. There's a good view, Jim.
Look at that. Looks like Jim's back with us after getting through Gamebridge Fieldhouse security.
Yep. Actually, I was trying to get on because I had Eric Sewer with me, the play-by-play guy for Indiana, but I couldn't get back in quick enough. But, yep, that's Illinois down there, I guess, practicing. No Indiana players out there right now, but we're here at Gamebridge, an empty Gamebridge Fieldhouse at the moment, as you can see. I need to flip his camera around, so I need to do. I can figure out how to do that while I'm on
Jim, when I saw you in the no hat and the sport coat, I thought maybe you were applying for a loan today.
Well, I could use it. After having my backpack picked off yesterday with the laptop and my sound equipment that was in it, about a $1,700 hit, unless it happens to show back up today. But yeah, that hurt.
That's a kick in the shins, man.
Yeah, well, the laptop you do the show on, the remote's on, all of that stuff. It's brand new. On top of that, had it for like 2 months.
Was it at the hotel or?
Nope, it was here. I'm hoping it shows up. I'm hoping it's just misplaced.
I like that positive outlook. You know what, Jim? I think you're going to find your goods today. They're going to show up.
It's got my logo on it and my name, so it's like, who's going to use it? And I hope to God I ever see it so I can tackle the person.
And my guess is if the person who lifted it, doesn't realize, one of his buddies is going to say, "Do you know who Jim Coyle is?" And you know what I mean? It's going to put the fear of God in them. They're going to return it to you.
They're going to say, "Nope."
So were you there yesterday, Jim?
I was, and I did see some of that Iowa barrage. Not a lot of defense that they had to face, but they were very proficient in hitting their shots, which that has happened before. They can get hot. They can score points, but it's when they run into a defensive team. When Indiana played at Iowa City, had they been better offensively, that's a game that would have gone either way.
There's no doubt that Iowa has struggled versus the top defensive teams this year. So there's no argue with that. Whatever. I do think they're playing better defense and rebounding better now than they had at any point in the year. So that's a little bit of a weapon they have to try to fight against that.
Absolutely, and looking forward to this tournament. I knew it was going to be exciting. I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect Indiana to beat Michigan. From just a non-biased standpoint, I just didn't. But who would have expected them to come out and play like they did in the second half?
Right.
They kicked the crap out of Michigan.
They got out.
They bullied Hunter Dickinson. He scored 2 points.
Right.
Just shut him down.
What was the crowd breakdown between the Indiana Michigan game? Was it predominantly Hoosier fans?
Oh yeah, but that's another thing. How they do this is so screwed up. Indiana should not. I don't care what their seed is. They should not be playing this early game for monetarily purposes. You will get a lot more people in this stadium, and the TV ratings would be higher if this was not an 11:30 game. Half the people at work.
I wonder if maybe they think though that's the best chance to get people in because they know, basically an Indiana person only has to take an afternoon off and they can pretty much come and check the game out. So maybe that's what they're thinking.
Who knows? But the one thing about this thing, this place it had the same amount of people in it all day yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, every game it had people. People are traveling. Nebraska travels.
Sure.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
And they should have won their game. Matter of fact, they should have been the ones getting their butts kicked by Iowa instead of Northwestern, but that's not how it worked out. What's new with you? What's going on? You got any bets going on this weekend? Are you betting on this tournament? Are you betting on college basketball?
No, I have a very strict deal with the betting gods. I just keep it to college football and the NFL playoffs, and maybe a golf tournament here and there, but that's about it.
Is the betting gods code for your wife?
She is a part of the council. Yes, she's a part of it.
Let's see. There's the radio guys. Yeah, that's trying to get you a shot of Don Fisher and the guys getting ready right down the way from me. Probably not close enough to see that, but that's where the radio broadcast is coming from. But yeah, this place is completely empty right now. Of course, how far out are we? No, just an hour and a half for a game. I guess they probably don't open the doors for another hour here. But Friday will probably be a great crowd here, really. You know, it's Friday excuse to take off lunch, especially for the Indiana side. I mean, a lot of people did not expect them to win yesterday. Now you're playing it's a great game against a great team, Illinois. So I expect a loud crowd in here today. I expect a lot of people taking off for lunch, man.
Oh, I think you'll have a great crowd. I mean, it's a pretty short trip for both fan bases. So I got to check out the Big Ten tournament sometime. It's so cool how in any given game you're predominantly going to have the fans of the two teams playing, but then you just got any one of the other 12 fan bases just checking out the game, watching it as a sports fan. What an awesome scene.
It is. There's all kinds of stuff that go on. As a matter of fact, you got the merchandise tent. You can't ever forget about that. I'm going to the merchandise tent and doing a radio show. So you're all on. Hey, but one of them has an Indiana shirt on. What is that? Oh, that's for Tyler. So they're selling the Tyler Trent shirts here. Very cool. So that's very cool. So if you come here, whatever you buy, make sure you buy a Tyler Trent shirt. Definitely have to say that.
For sure.
But try to give you. I wish I had a way of turning this stupid camera around. But there you go. Look at all the stuff you can get.
Go ahead. Don't be afraid to pick me up a Iowa shirt and a Tyler Trent shirt, Jim.
So T-shirts are $30. So you can get a T-shirt for $30, right?
Right.
What are the Big Ten stuff? Big Ten championship?
Athletic wear or dry fit. So those range to like $50 for a quarter zip or a long sleeve. And then we also have ladies options.
There you go, man. Big Ten championship. Even got toboggans over there. Time to take us a quick break. Maybe I'll buy something. Maybe I'll buy something for Jeffrey. Get him an Iowa shirt. I'll tell you what, if they win the Big Ten tournament, I will definitely buy you an Iowa shirt. I will buy you an Iowa Big Ten champion shirt.
It's the least you could do from my point of view.
I would agree. Let's take a quick break. Jim Coyle coming to you from Cambridge Fieldhouse with Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our great friends at Feast Market and Cellar. Great wines and cheeses right there in Bloomington. Stop by. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Now,
hey, Jeff and Jim, if you want to ask him about their new podcast, I don't know if it's out yet, Jeff, but I know you're all doing a mailbag soon, aren't you?
We already did a mailbag.
It's out, though?
It's out, yeah.
Okay.
But we're doing our recruiting pod tonight. And then I've got we got Braden Gull coming on the show next week, too. So,
who's Braden Gull?
You don't know Braden
ignorance.
No, that's fine. He works for Applin.
Okay.
No reentry. This is great.
Are you on the search for your bag? Is that why we're going all around Gamebridge? Also, Jeff, feel free to reach out to me whenever you want me to do that intro for you. I don't know when you're wanting to switch that up or whatever.
Oh, I know. We just that's kind of Kurt's thing, and we just haven't. We'll get to it at some point.
Okay, cool. Actually, the people, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Everything College Basketball podcast. They had me do their new intro too.
Really? Okay, nice.
I need to start making a business out of this.
For sure. Not everybody's born with your pipes.
Evidently not.
You should become their producer then, John, and charge them.
I should, but I don't know if I have the time at the moment.
Well, you don't have to really do a lot. Just do a little.
They do, yeah, but their shows are like 3 hours long. Or at least the one that I recently looked at was 3 hours long.
All about college basketball?
Yeah, they cover everything, apparently. That's in the title.
3 hour long sports podcast.
Now, like I said, it may have been a special. I don't know if they're always 3 hours, but because I know they talked about the conference tournaments and that kind of thing. And
damn it. I'm trying to get down, but I can't figure out how to get out of here. It's too far to jump.
So, Jeff, you said that I'm not going to like your Indiana response to the question that I said.
How'd I do?
Oh, I haven't listened yet. I didn't know it was available, but I'll have to check it out here soon.
Yeah.
Trying to get down. What's the quickest way to get down?
Elevators. You go that way, you run into them eventually.
We're in full vlog mode with Jim.
Thank you.
All right. I'm I guess.
Plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a happy Friday. Coming to you from Gamebridge Fieldhouse. I don't know if you can see the behind me. The lights sometimes too bright.
A little bright.
But give you a little better view from this end. I assume that is the Illini out there getting shots up. Still nobody from Indiana out here. I guess so.
Yeah.
Rusted. Tin roof. Rusted. Well, yeah, they are rusting. Played the first game yesterday, so they got that out of the way. Played the first game again today. I wonder if that's an advantage or not, having already done that. But maybe not, because maybe that's why Illinois is out here. Plus, they live on Central Time.
Right.
So,
you gotta think about it. Could be a little early for them.
So that's probably why they're out here early, getting shots up, getting ready, getting the body moving.
Sure.
I talked about that yesterday. I'm like, I don't care who you are. Playing a sport at 11 o'clock in the morning, the body's not used to that. Unless you're a kid, it doesn't matter. But you're just not accustomed to that. You're used to playing it either in the afternoon or most of the time in the evening.
Body clock deal is a big thing for me. When in high school, all my football games are Friday nights, and you just get used to playing under the lights. That was something I don't know if I ever really adjusted to when you get ready for these. Back then it was noon games. They were just so weird.
Yeah, I agree, but we'll get to see it today. We always see it tournament action, though. So someone draws bad, but that also gives them more rest, I guess you could say. So it's hard to tell. This is going to be a fun game, Illinois and Indiana. I know that
Yeah.
you're not. If you were betting,
yeah, I mean, Illinois is 6-point favorite, and so, but you look at the two teams coming in. I mean, Indiana was dead, and they come all the way back to win the game. So maybe they kind of feel like they're playing with house money. Whereas on the other side with Illinois, they needed some amazing things to fall into place, namely Nebraska beating Wisconsin, and then obviously turning around and holding off a hot Iowa team. They needed both of those things to happen to share the Big Ten title for the regular season. So, like, I wonder if there's an emotional letdown that Illinois is going to feel, after all of that going down on Sunday. So, I mean, I think those things can all kind of come together to make this an awesome game.
Absolutely. And Indiana showing, I don't know if I would say their desperation yesterday, but they showed whatever it was that they did in beating that Michigan team and the way they beat them in that second half, showing that we have not seen from Indiana this season, basically. But and there's plenty of other things. There's so much going on in sports we haven't talked about because this tournament is going on. And I feel it's kind of neglectful, but like, especially in the NFL, all the quarterbacks that have been moving around. Indianapolis, I talked yesterday, we don't know what they're going to do, what they're going to end up with, but there's just a ton going on in sports, but really nobody cares when the NCAA tournament starts, let's be honest. And that's where we are. It is tournament time, and especially here in Indiana, it's what you're going to talk about. The Big Ten tournament being in Indianapolis, I think it should always be in Indianapolis. I know that is biased, but it truly is just built for it. The places that are around this downtown, it's just made for all of these type of events. And I think that the Big Ten football and basketball media days should be here each year. And definitely having the basketball tournament in Chicago, there's nothing around the United Center. There is nothing close to it. There's no convenience whatsoever. It's just not.
And I don't think sending a bunch of people to downtown Chicago right now is probably the smartest thing to do. And yeah, I mean, Indianapolis, they just know how to host, and it's just weird. It's not broke. So why are we trying to fix this? Like, Indianapolis is doing a great job. It's as centrally located as you possibly can for the Big Ten footprint. Quit trying to improve on something that doesn't need to be improved on. Just let the tradition grow. Keep it in Indianapolis. And I mean, I'm on the same page with you.
And you know what? I think that you just have to let the tradition grow. Moving it around, I mean, there is the New York thing on a one-off. I think is good, fun, if they can make it happen. Not the 1 week thing, though. Again, where they had to have the tournament a week early. The Big Ten is too big for that.
Horrible.
Number one,
That's horrible.
It was horrible, and it was horrible for the schedule. But that's the only other place I would like to see a one-off is New York and Madison Square Garden, because Madison Square Garden is cool. You would still get, but I'm not talking about every other year. I'm talking about like once every 4 years. And that's it. The rest of the time it's in Indianapolis or even longer maybe. But when they went to Washington, that was horrible. That didn't work. And the Big Ten is in Chicago.
I understand that, you want to expand the footprint and getting it into a historic place in Madison Square Garden in New York City. I get it. It's cool. But when you think of the Big Ten, you don't think of New York City. You're never going to think of New York City when you think of the Big Ten. Just keep it centrally located where it's at. And I mean, it's not broke. Don't try to fix it.
Well, and people, Indianapolis is easy to get to. People travel here. There's plenty of hotels to stay. It's not overpriced. It's not New York pricing. That's another thing.
Right.
And this is well attended. Like I said, there was about the same amount of people all day. I looked up last night. I didn't stay for the last game, but this place there were people up in the balcony. I'm like, damn.
Right.
For the second to last game, for two teams that are nowhere close to being from here.
It's fun. It's an event. I mean, somebody from Chicago, and think about how many every Big Ten fan base is represented and living in Chicago. So any one of those people living there could just, call up a buddy and say, dude, you want to go check out the tourney tomorrow? Yeah, let's do it. Drive down that Saturday, find some tickets, go to a game, drive back. I mean, it's just, it's a perfect place to have it.
The only reason they rotate is because they know that they have to play it in Indianapolis because it's so great, but they still want to keep it in Chicago because the Big Ten Conference is there. So they bring it back and forth. But Mike, if it's so good, then why aren't you rotating the football championship? You got Soldier Field. Of course, it's not a dome stadium, but who cares? The Big Ten, play outside, baby.
Yeah, I hope they keep it there. But yeah, I mean, today's game, Indiana, Illinois. I can't wait to watch that. I mean, that might be two of the craziest fan bases in the Big Ten as far as basketball is concerned. So let me know if any fights break out. Iowa Rutgers. I mean, you got a hot Iowa team, but a Rutgers team that kneecapped them. That's one of their few losses, in the past month and a half here. Michigan State, Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin, kind of backing in to the Big Ten championship or regular season championship. Don't ever count out Izzo. And then you got the arch rival of Indiana, Purdue, with the nightcap, against, I know they're a pretty big favorite versus Penn State, but like all of these games are fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them. They just keep getting better, but they've been pretty good along the way. Nebraska, Northwestern was a good game to watch. The only game that has not been fun to watch was the Iowa Northwestern game, which was over by halftime.
Even that had entertainment value just from, I mean, basically it was watching the Golden State Warriors from like 3-4 years ago. I mean, everything they jacked up was going in. I mean, it had its own value to it.
Well, we'll certainly see if they can do that again today. But more importantly, what can Indiana do with this Illinois team? Can they find a way to contain? I'm not saying stop, but just contain Kofi Cockburn, not let him affect the offense. But more importantly, their guards, Illinois guards. That's where Indiana got in trouble last time, and that's where you have to. Xavier Johnson has to do a defensive job without getting into foul trouble. I'm sure he won't have him the whole time, but he's going to be no doubt drawing that assignment.
Yeah, no offense to any other team, but I think Illinois has the most talented roster, 1 through 6 or 7. So, I mean, if they play at their best, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them, not just the Big Ten, all over the country. So, that's going to be a great game. One question I wanted to ask you, I kind of asked it before, but, the Big Ten tournament got shut down for shenanigans 2 years ago. Last year, I think it was limited crowd. This year now, finally, in a long time, not only crowds are full, do you feel like there's just more of a vibe there than maybe the tournaments past that you've been to?
What was that question again?
With the last 2 years, with it not being a true full form, Big Ten tournament, do you feel like the vibe that you have inside the building with all the fans being there, do you feel like it's bigger than it has been the last couple of years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the people are back. But like I said, that's my complaint with how they schedule this. They schedule it by the seeding, but that's stupid. That has no bearing on the games. When you play them, the seeding, they're already seeded, so when you play them is irrelevant. So why not use some common sense, put teams like Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Ohio State, closer to later, to draw more fans. I think not that it wasn't drawing a lot. Like I said, this place was pretty all day long. It had the same amount, probably. I don't want to say 3/4 full. That's probably not fair, but somewhere in maybe 60%, but that was all day. And you had changeover. You had people leaving, coming and going. So they probably, more than sold out yesterday because you had so many different people coming and going. Today's sessions are sold out already. So we know that. So yeah, I mean, people are no masks. They're back, baby. They're back.
My guess is there's like a cadence that they want to communicate to the coaches where if this team wins and that team loses, they already know what time they're playing, so they can kind of communicate that to the players and having practice schedules. I'm sure that's why they're doing it, but I wish Purdue Penn State was the first game today. One would think Purdue probably will do pretty well versus Penn State, in this game. So the game that would be the hardest for most fans to watch would be that one. So I would put that first. After that, I feel like you can make a compelling argument for the remaining 3 games to be played whenever, because they're going to be big TV draws.
Yeah, as you can see, the Indiana team now on the floor here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So we're over an hour before game. They're going through their normal routines. They're getting out, stretching, jumping rope. Looks like Michael Durr jumping rope. There's that Jordan Geronimo. Trace Jackson Davis walking onto the floor. Coaching staff coming out. So Indiana getting ready to go through their game day preps. There's Rick Pizzo from BTN walking out as well. So got all the trappings of the Big Ten tournament happening today. It's not that long away, man. We're about an hour away from game time. So getting exciting. Maybe my backpack will turn up. I'm not counting.
What are the chances of the Hoosiers getting in the tourney if they lose this game, or what are the chances of them getting in if they win this game?
The chances of getting in if they win this game are 100%.
Okay. 100% Hoosiers are in the NCAA tournament if they win today.
Oh, I guarantee you. I'll take that bet all day long.
Okay.
That's, as a matter of fact, Joe Lenardi has them last 4 in right now. I think he's I think they're the last team in right now.
Okay.
It's funny, I read something, sorry to throw my 2 cents in, but apparently Joe Lenardi, the famed Joe Lenardi bracketologist, only has a 55% correction rate, whatever you want to call it, for the teams that he puts in. I don't know if that's for last season or of all time, but that's less than impressive if you ask me.
55% what?
A 55% correctness rate for his bracketologist.
That's not. He's way higher than that. I don't know what that's from, but anyway,
that's meteorologist type of percentages right there.
Well, regardless, they win this game, they're in 1,000%. I don't care what Lenardi or anybody else says. If they lose this game close, I don't know. It depends on what happens around them. It depends on who else wins or loses. They're very tight. A loss certainly does not do them any good. I mean, the famous saying is you're not going to lose your way into this tournament. But they had a great night. It wasn't just a win yesterday. It was a really good win. I think if they play Illinois tight and they don't get hurt by some bid stealers, that they can still get in. But why not just win the game and take that out of their hands?
I got a question for both of you. What do you guys think about Johnny Davis winning Player of the Year?
I agree with it because he was definitely the most impactful player on a team in the Big Ten. But if you take him off of Wisconsin's team, they absolutely suck.
I disagree with the second half of that, but I do think he definitely deserves Player of the Year.
They couldn't beat North. They would be last in the Big Ten if they did not have Johnny Davis.
Oh, my goodness.
Man, I would have picked Johnny Davis third behind Kofi Coburn and Keegan Murray. I mean, Keegan Murray's leading the stats in the Big Ten more than, scoring, rebounding. he's ranks above everybody, including Johnny Davis. I don't know. And anybody,
and there's no doubt he has been spectacular. I don't know, something about Iowa players, man. I'm just kidding, but you had the player of the year. You got another guy that probably could have been player of the year, but they're not winning anything.
I'd go ahead and wrap up.
But it's been a great week here at the Big Ten tournament. Looking forward to today's game. I can't thank everybody enough. Can't thank everybody on the show today enough. Zach Osterman, Dylan Sinn was on with us earlier. Pete Yonkman and Tyler Harris from Hoosiers for Good, the new NIL arm. And, of course, Jeffrey the Greek. Be nowhere without him. John the producer. But most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got nothing to do. Make sure you go out and stop by Southern Stone or Feast, BB's, or any of the Endeavor hospitality places. Get your My Wow Club card. Just go to your app store and look for My Wow Club wild card. So, John, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
Jeffrey, I hope you have a great weekend as well.
Man, enjoy yourself.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. Thanks a lot, and until maybe Monday, I guess, I will see you guys on the radio.
Have fun.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.